some of the major influences when it comes to art for me. I was born and raised as a comic book artist. This pencil right here is everything to me. It's my teacher, it's my best friend, it's my girl, and I've experienced a lot, just growing up as an artist, and it all came from comic books. I was born and raised as a comic book artist, and early on, my first comic book art that I've ever seen, I'm from the Caribbean, and so back then we had the Coke bottles, and on the bottom of the Coke bottle cover was Batman, Superman, Spider-Man. My next thing was Super Friends. Super Friends excited me. I was just like, oh dude, these guys are alive. I started drawing them. My first art piece was Superman and Batman in class, and I did stick figures, and kids were just like, oh man, you're amazing. I love the attention, but I didn't know you could do anything. So when I finally came to America, my first comic book that I've ever seen was Spider-Man versus Hulk, and it was created, or the artist was Todd McFarlane, and it was read by a guy named Alex on the school bus. He didn't know how to read, but he was just like, oh, Spider-Man said, your mama, and Hulk was like, my mama what? And that's how he was reading it to me. And so I was like, oh, this is amazing. I like it. I like the art. The art was better than what I saw when I was a little kid. So coming here, I was just like, oh, I guess you can do work. But I thought, these guys were special. I didn't know you could be anything big until I met my buddy Jason Lee. He was an artist too. So now we're just both excited that he told me that you could make it. Told me about Comic-Con. Comic-Con changed my life. I would have been a wrestler if it wasn't for Comic-Con. But what happened was I went down to Comic-Con and I met the artist that did that same book. The artist, he did Spawn, he had moved over to Spawn, and I was caught up with that particular issue, and I was like, this guy is amazing. And to actually meet him, and what happened was, he was in a crowd of people. I walked up, I ran up to him, and I put my hand out and I said, Todd, I'm gonna work for you one day. And his back was turned. He turned around, he shook my hand, and he said, I can't wait. And then from that point on, I just was driven. Not just to work for a guy, but to be ready to be on his same level. And every month, every day was just constantly on the grind. But what made him special to me was the fact that he challenged the industry. And I think that's what I embody. This pencil, I challenge the canvas every day, having a blank page, solving a problem. That's what the pencil is. That's what it represents to me. Not just putting a masterpiece on a page, but we solved the problem, and ideas in my head or someone else's head, we put it on a blank canvas and made it work. And so that's what I see in Todd McFarlane. He's the guy that influenced me a lot because of his life. He was so successful at Marvel, and then to walk away from that, and then to challenge the industry and say, hey, you know what, I'm giving it all I got into something I believe in. His life was a blank canvas, and I followed that same footstep. I didn't run to Marvel or DC. I wanted to start my own company. That's where I started with my friends, and we created, with James Boone, we created Real Marks, and that's comics to movies, movies to comics. And now that I'm with Esoteric as well, we're also doing some work here to get me to where I could challenge the industry again. So it all comes back to the pencil, all comes back to just me being influenced by a guy who probably doesn't even know I exist, but that's how I want to carry myself in the industry. That's how I want to represent. I want to be able to turn around and bless somebody else like that with an inspiration or a movement just because I did work. I put work down on paper, and that inspired me, or that connected with someone else. But it all comes back to the pencil. It comes back to me, just drawing one line, two lines, image,